Hey, Forrest here. Nothing like getting paid. And with ICCU's mobile app, I can deposit checks or accept Zelle payments so the money hits my account fast. I just wish there was an app for mowing the rest of these lawns.
Please don't be raining. Perfect.
RowPaint.com is going all in this season with an all-star lineup. It's Coach Leon Rice and Andy Rowe.
Oh no. Want to just paint my house?
When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust RowPaint.com to get that job done right.
We don't need gimmicks like giant checks and mascots to promote this year's football contest because we're giving away even more money than we did last year.
$16 million in guaranteed prizes to be exact. There's 2 ways to win and no rake.
Players in Circa Millions make 5 picks against the spread each week with quarterly and full season payouts.
Circa Survivor entries select one team each week with no point spread. Last the longest to win it all. Visit circasports.com for details.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Canned Cocktails is perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Now, here's 4-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Boise State fans? Happy Tuesday to you. BJ Rains here, Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com. Tust, Sports Director at KTVB, going to be alongside shortly. Got a fun show for you today as we get set for tomorrow's first practice of fall camp. Again, Bronco Nation News Live presented by RowPaint.com, our title sponsor, ROEPaint.com. Make sure you're checking them out. And again, all your interior, exterior painting needs, all your concrete coatings, all that good stuff. Check out our title sponsor at RowPaint.com. This is also a Taco Bell Tuesday. So Taco Bell, make sure you get out there and get yourself some Taco Bell for the family. And if you are looking for a job, Taco Bell is hiring, so make sure you check them out. TacoBellWorks.com is that website for our friends over at Taco Bell, and we appreciate them. We'll tell you about some other great sponsors we have throughout the show, but excited to talk Boise State football. We had a chance yesterday to go over and talk to some of the coaches and have media day and catch up with some of the coaches. And then today is kind of the final calm before the storm. Tomorrow, the Broncos will be on the practice field about 9:50 for the first practice of fall camp. So, again, nothing going on over there today. They have a report date, some meetings, and then they'll have the first practice over there on Wednesday, and that'll be at 9:50. And just a heads up, I think we're going to try to attempt to keep the shows at 9 with the practices starting at 9:50. I know Spencer Danielson, very media friendly so far, so I'd like to think that he chose 9:50 so it wouldn't interfere with our BNN live show here this morning. But we bring in Jay Tust, Sports Director over at KTVB. Jay, let's see how we do that. There we go. There he is. How we doing, Jay? Happy Tuesday, man.
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Oh, doing good, man. I saw you had your coffee going. I got the Rockstar energy drink. It's kind of the calm before the storm here with tomorrow, but I thought some good stuff yesterday, and with the media day and getting a chance to catch up with some of the coaches. The only downside was the 20 minutes we got, man. I had talked to Tim Keene for like 5 minutes, just BSing, and I look the whole second I'm enjoying it, but looking up at the clock, man, I'm like, gosh, I got to get to the next guy here. And so it was good to catch up with the coaches. And good to get, even 3, 4, 5 minutes with some of these guys for some quick thoughts heading into tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot of it was a little surface level, I would say, just because it was a pretty quick time, man. It went by so fast, 20 minutes to catch up with, essentially 10 coaches, that's well, I should say this, it's 5-5. How about that? Because it is 5 offensive, 5 defensive, but it just went by really, really fast. Didn't get the chance to necessarily catch up with everybody, but some interesting things going on in the secondary at Boise State. Receiver competition really is truly like wide open. It is going to be awesome. The quarterbacks are going to get a lot of the attention, but I'm really, really excited to see how this plays out at the wide receiver position. Austin Bolt, man, he has waited forever for this opportunity. Prince Strawn is, I want to say full of potential, but he's more than that. And then on top of that, you have Latrell Caples coming back from an injury. Same with, a number of these guys. Cam Camper, the transfer from Indiana, and Chris Marshall, who transferred in from Ole Miss. I mean, these guys are really, really big time talents, and I can't wait to see how it's going to play out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We're probably going to play the interview we did with Matt Miller on tomorrow's show. We'll hear from Matt Miller tomorrow. I know all of us had our chance, as I said, to get 3, 4, 5 minutes one-on-one, kind of moving our way around the room with these coaches. We are going to hear from Dirk Koetter, Erik Chinander, a couple minutes of those guys here coming up today, and then we'll kind of sprinkle in the assistant coaches throughout the next week or so here on BNN. I'm sure you'll do the same in terms of splicing in some various bites on the KTVB newscast here over the next couple of days. They did say Ashton Genty will not be available for the first couple of days of practice, which, again, he just talked down in Vegas. I have no problem with that. The quarterbacks also, I guess the good news is they're going to be available this fall. It's just going to take a couple days for them as well. They said starting next Monday, it looks like the quarterbacks will probably be available. So, and again, Malachi Nelson, second semester player, like that'll be the interview of fall camp. Looking forward to that, sometime early next week. Maddox Madsen, we were able to talk to, I think, in the spring. So, but for these guys, let them have a first couple days to kind of get their feet wet. No Genty, no quarterbacks, no assistant coaches. A lot of other players, obviously, to talk to these first couple of days, and then focus on some other storylines, and then we'll get back into those storylines early next week.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of it in a nutshell right there, BJ. It all begins tomorrow, and we get to see all of this play out. And it's just going to be an extremely intriguing fall camp. I mean, every fall camp's intriguing, BJ, but when you have a quarterback competition, when you have a new first-year head coach, when you have, a number of position battles at other spots that are really going to factor into game day, against Georgia Southern and beyond, it just really makes it for that much more. I will say this though, BJ, and I'm sure that you'll have a similar takeaway. Talking with the assistants yesterday, it was pretty open, and we even talked about position battles and depth charts and things like that, where I don't know if there was that type of honesty all the time in the past, I guess you could say. And so it really paints a clear picture for when I show up on tomorrow morning. I'll kind of know what I need to look for and where I'm looking, and there are going to be some surprises, I think, for Bronco Nation when those initial depth charts come out.
Well, and that'll be my first question in a couple minutes here to Dirk Koetter. And I kind of jokingly said, who's a starting, big question, who's a starting quarterback? And he goes, well, Maddox Madsen's atop the depth chart. And I mean, he just kind of came out, didn't say seating chart or first day. He gets the first snap. He goes, well, Maddox Madsen's atop the depth chart and Malachi Nelson's number 2. And we'll see where it goes from there. And so he was pretty open and transparent about that. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh, no. What I was going to say is it's so funny, man. I'm sure you get this too. Whenever you post about anything on social media about the quarterbacks right now, everybody seems to have the answer. One thing I just want to acknowledge the obvious and the luxury, right? Dirk Koetter is the offensive coordinator of the Boise State football team. He is going to make the right choice. Dirk's not going to sugarcoat anything. He's not going to play favorites. He's not going to not choose the guy that should be starting against Georgia Southern on August 31st or whatever it is, just because that's how he feels. Like he's going to choose the right guy and the guy that should have the best chance of leading his team to a victory in the season opener and hopefully beyond. And so as everybody weighs in with their opinions, we love it. Totally. I get it. But just don't forget that Dirk frickin' Koetter is the offensive coordinator that's going to have the biggest say in this decision. Just don't forget that.
Well, I only had 3 minutes. Like literally they said 3 minutes at the end. So I got about 4 questions in. And so they were all about the quarterbacks. Would I have loved to ask Dirk Koetter about the receivers and some of the other positions? Great. But I got Matt Miller to talk about the receivers. I got some of these guys. I got Tim Keene to talk about the O-line. So I spent my entire time on the quarterbacks. And then of course the first comment on the YouTube post when we posted the video yesterday was, doesn't PJ know that Dirk Koetter, that there's more than quarterbacks on offense? And, everyone's focusing on that, but maybe I should have changed it to quarterback, Coach Dirk Koetter, I guess. But we didn't get a ton of time, as I said, so you had to use your time wisely, and there was plenty of questions about the quarterbacks. Bronco 130 says Cutter's having to balance reality to what the local media wants. We'll get into that in a minute when we play the clip. I'm going to say one of my takeaways yesterday was James Montgomery's got a little swag to him these days. When you got Ashton Genty in the backfield and you got Breezy Dubar and Sire Gaines, like I don't think anybody's walking around a little more pep in their step right now than James Montgomery. And I don't know if you noticed that talking to him, Jay, but he just seemed so much more relaxed, so much more comfortable, so much more comment. He was joking with some of the answers. Like that was a side of James Montgomery I don't know if I've seen in his 2.5 years here at Boise State. And I think it's pretty easy to have that kind of confidence when you have the backfield that he does.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. He deserves a lot of credit for helping develop that backfield, no doubt. So he's kind of earned that confidence. But he's got a whole lot of talent in that room, man. And there are guys that we don't even talk about, whether it be Tyler Crow or Ethan Makita or Caden Dudley, man. It is there is such a wealth of talent in that room that it's, in all honesty, in the 4 minutes I had with James yesterday, it was hard to touch on everybody. Outside of that, my biggest takeaway is that Ethan Makita, the pride of Eagle High School, apparently his nickname is Baywatch. Ethan's been in the weight room, man. He is ready to roll after suffering that season-ending injury on a kickoff last year against the University of Washington. So even if those guys aren't going to play, massive roles on offense, no doubt they will at some point in time on special teams, which Spencer Danison took a nice little minute to address that too yesterday. They are not just handing out special team spots because, they need to fill them this year. They got to play starters there, they'll play starters there. If they got to play backups there, they'll play backups there. Whoever goes out and earns a spot to play on special teams is going to play that spot on special teams. But again, that might mean, rolling out some of your starters on defense or offense this year in order to accomplish the mission. And I'll say this, BJ, UNLV, the team that Boise State played for the Mountain West title game in the Mountain West title game last year, that is a group that uses a lot of starters on special teams, and they are very, very good in their return game. And so I know Boise State got the best of them last year, but that is an area that Boise State needs to make up some ground as special teams play.
No doubt about it. Robbie Robinson is asking Jay, when it comes to player interviews, he said, I can't wait for Ahmed Hassanin. Let us know, by the way, because, most players are going to be available. So we've obviously got our storylines and our things we want to hit on, Jay. But in terms of what players you guys want to hear from, most guys are going to be available. So throw it in the YouTube chat there, the ICCU YouTube chat. What players do you want to hear from? And again, you don't have to say Ashton Genty, Malachi Nelson. We get the obvious ones, but who are some players that you'd like to hear from and hear their stories? And I think obviously I'll be putting Cam Camper, Chris Marshall on that list this week. Some of those newcomers, I think an Irby needs to be on that list pretty early on. Somebody brought him up. We'll get to him when we talk about the defense.
Jeremiah, that's a guy right there. Again, we talk about depth charts and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if Jeremiah's got the edge right now in that boundary, starting cornerback spot.
And I don't think that should really surprise anybody. I think him and McCoy both are right up there, and you have Banks coming in who's going to compete for time. Somebody's asking about Banks. He is not available to the media. He didn't come in until the summer, and so the rules they're doing this year, which I think are fair, you have to be in the program for one semester. So if you come in the spring and you're a true freshman, then we can get you as a true freshman in the fall. But if you come in as a transfer or something in the spring, we can get you in the fall. So Irby is available. Malachi Nelson is available because he was in the program in the spring. But a guy like Banks arrived in the summer, so he will not be available, at least initially, to start the season. I know if guys go crazy, they can change things later in the season, which they did, with Rippon and some of those guys, Bachmeyer, later in the season. Love to hear from Prince. They love to hear from Prince Strawn, the new local walk-on as well. Let's see. Dylan Riley, diamond in the rough. Yeah, he's a true freshman that we'll talk to when we get. Is Gaines available? Yes, Sire Gaines would be available. So he was here in the spring. So he is a guy that they may not want to put him out, first, second day of fall camp, but at some point during fall camp, I would assume that Gaines would be available there. Let's see. Gums was super tight with Banks and the BSU coaches, recruited him in high school. Yeah, I think that's something that we talked to Demario Warren about. We'll get to that as well. So, yeah, if you have some players you want to hear from, let Jay and I know. And we do have our lists, our storylines. But obviously on this show in particular, it's kind of what we like to, appease to the masses here. So if you guys have players you want to hear from, we'll do our best to try to get interviews with them at some point during fall camp and get those guys on. All right, Dirk Koetter. Let's get to Dirk Koetter in just a second. But first, I do want to tell you about a couple of our great sponsors here at BNN. And again, Dirk Koetter. Good stuff, funny stuff coming up in just a second. But Cutwater Spirits, more than 35 flavors of premixed premium cocktails. Pick one up at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Spirits, perfect for that next game day tailgate. I highly recommend the mango margarita, the Long Island, the lime margarita, the pina colada, the Mai Tai. So many great flavors at Cutwater Spirits. Roepaint.com, R-O-E paint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. And again, they are doing a lot to help Boise State, doing a lot to help BNN. There would be no BNN without our friends at Roe Paint. So return the favor. Your next painting project, whether it's your concrete coating, whether it's your interior, exterior painting project, please consider the folks at roepaint.com. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. We appreciate them for their support of the Tyson Degenhart Show on BNN. So there's a branch pretty much on every corner, but as you guys know by now, that mobile app in your phone is the easiest eBranch mobile experience that you'll find in terms of online banking. So Raines family, BNN, happy we made the switch. Just wish we had done it sooner. Get more information. Sign up today, ICCU.com. Bauscher Real Estate, the number one ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley for a reason. Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate. And again, we just finished purchasing a home, selling our home through Matt and his team. And Kelly, Cade, Sarah, Matt, the whole crew was from start to finish. Couldn't have been more helpful. We're very appreciative and glad that we chose Matt. And again, he's got a couple of $5 million listings right now. Like, he'll sell the big ones, but he can sell the small, Raines family household or any size home that you've got. So 243-8222. Check them out online at BauscherRealEstate.com. And our friends at Ridley's Family Markets. Love that CUNA location. Recommend all the locations, but in particular CUNA, the Middleton Star locations around the valley. You got the location up there in McCall if you're heading up out of town camping for the weekend. So Ridley's Family Markets, check them out. ShopRidleys.com. Again, you can save up to 40% off at the checkout line using the Shop Ridley's app. You can get more information and sign up today at ShopRidleys.com. All right, we mentioned our friend Dirk Koetter talking to the media, Jay. I don't know, in terms of what you got out of it, but I was like the last one he did. They were trying to cut off the time. We didn't have a lot of time, so I kind of had to get right to the point, and I kind of jokingly started off with who's your starting quarterback. But there was a little give and take. I know he was mostly joking around, but he did kind of take defense a little bit when I asked about the higher ceiling potentially of Malachi Nelson. He talked about, the recruiting services, that he'll never say anything good about them. I mean, he had some funny clips in there, and I didn't necessarily take it as contentious as some did. I kind of thought he was just kind of having a little fun, but also that's just how Dirk is. He tells you like it is. This guy's our starter. I don't care about recruiting sites or stars or anything else or ceilings, and I'm going to pick the best guy. But interesting stuff from Dirk Koetter yesterday.
Yeah, it's a tremendous luxury to have. Like I said, I know that everybody wants to weigh in and have an opinion, and I mean that's just kind of the world we live in today, is hot takes galore, right? I'm just kind of the opposite, man. Dirk's going to pick the right guy, and he'll pick the guy that gives Boise State the best chance to win with very little politics surrounding it. I mean, he spent the better part of the last 2 decades at the NFL level, and if you want to be able to feed your own family, you can't play favorites at that level, right? Like, you have to play guys that are the best at what they do and give you the best shot to win. And so, it's funny, BJ, because it's like, how do you shape some of these questions? Like, it's hard, like, especially in the offseason when we don't get to see a ton. It's not like we can say like, man, Maddox just looked good throwing the ball today. So you kind of have to generalize at times. And sometimes maybe that, does get contentious responses, I suppose, because it's an assumption. But, pretty soon, as Spencer continues to say, what you put on tape is going to determine your amount of playing time. And we're all about to start to hit the record button here tomorrow morning.
Here's Dirk Koetter on the quarterback battle at Boise State.
His first question: who's starting quarterback?
We don't have to play any games today, but Maddox Madsen's number 1 on the depth chart, followed by Malachi Nelson. And I mean, I think it's a lot bigger deal to everybody else than it is to us right now. You got a lot of practices, and that thing will work itself out. And you're gonna need them both, and maybe beyond that before it's all done.
What's ultimately going to be the deciding factor for you in terms of who starts against Georgia Southern?
I think it should always be who gives you the best chance to win and which guy gets the ball in the end zone.
How do you weigh, I guess, the Maddox Madsen kind of having that knowledge, and you've seen him in games, and kind of being that steady guy that you know what he brings, to maybe a guy like Malachi who maybe has a little higher ceiling when he's at 100%?
Every media person here has brought up this higher ceiling. Like, what is a higher ceiling? I mean, that's why we have all those practices. I mean, that's why we go through all these scenarios, and that's why we have 2-minute periods and call it periods and red zone periods and short yardage periods. Like, a high ceiling, you could say that for guys at every position. Are you going to go out there and play all the guys with a high ceiling, or are you going to play the guys that give you the best chance to win? And that's why we practice.
Blame the recruiting guys that gave him 5 stars. I mean, come on.
You would never catch me saying that those guys know what they're talking about either.
With Malachi, though, from practice.
Wait, let's go back up on that. So
right.
Is that saying, is Ashton Genty a 3-star player then?
Obviously not. Well, I think the five stars obviously is why there's a lot of hype around Malachi. Would you admit to that, or?
I don't know anything about that because I'm not into that, but there should be a lot of hype around that 3-star running back.
Oh, no doubt. With what you saw in spring from Malachi and from practice 1 to practice 15, my untrained eyes, he looked like he got a lot better, a lot more comfortable. Where did you see him improve the most, and how does he build off his finish?
Well, he definitely improved the most just on he was the only new guy learning all new terminology. And as somebody who was doing that alongside of him, I know that's not easy. So that's where he improved the most. And he's worked to continue that over the summer.
Maddox being a guy who didn't play at all or didn't participate in spring, just limited. How have you seen him this summer, and what's he got done to improve?
Well, the main thing is he's gotten healthy. He's gotten where he can do everything on that knee. He's fully cleared to be in 11-on-11 football. And Mad Dog, when he played last year, he played pretty well. I mean, he did a good job when he got his chances. I think everybody thought there was going to be a big drop off from Talon, and there certainly wasn't. I mean, Maddox ended up getting ahead of him there at some point.
I know he won't say it publicly, but do you kind of get the sense that there is maybe a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, like, hey, I'm the guy who came in last year and did well. Why are people focusing on Malachi?
I could guarantee you that's the case.
Yeah.
No, I don't get the sense. I could guarantee it.
There he is, Malachi. Oh, you know what? I cut it off too early. There's 20 seconds left. Hold on.
You're going to be in a couple weeks when you don't have to answer that starting question quarterback job anymore.
Oh, I don't mind that. I mean, I hope they're both good enough to be starters. I mean, that's what we need. We're going to need them all.
But only one's going to play, right? You're not going to, what we saw in the past here.
Again, that would be a Coach Danielson. That would be a question.
Your preference would be to pick one and stick with it?
That would be my preference, but that's a Coach D call.
It does sound like that's going to be the case, Jay. It's going to be whoever it is. I don't expect them to really. I mean, obviously, at some point, if you're playing bad, they could switch quarterbacks and make a change. I'm not saying whoever starts the first game is going to be the starter all season, but I don't think you're going to get this every other drive like we've seen in the past.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel like that worked too well last year. I don't know how many people were really, in favor of that decision last year, but
well, the two people that made the decision were obviously in favor of it.
I guess. Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's still a tough one that I don't know if we'll ever really truly, it'll be years from now before we really get the blunt, honest truth of what happened with a lot of those decisions. So I know that there's people that have weighed in and stuff like that, but in terms of the guys that, truly made those decisions, I just think it's going to be tough to get some honesty out of that. But anyway,
What'd you take from Dirk? What you heard from Dirk Koetter there?
That it's what you'd expect out of Dirk, just kind of no nonsense, honest approach that he's not going to put up with, any of the rumors or let that try to affect his quarterbacks. He's just going to kind of shoot you straight. And he's so funny because like we all want to say like, oh no, the recruiting, the people that did the recruiting rankings are right because they gave Malachi 5 stars. and then we're all quick to call them idiots because they gave Ashton Genty 3 stars. So can both be true? Can both be wrong? Like, I mean, it's a little of everything, I guess, is my point. So
Yeah, he put me in my
you
place
just
a little bit there.
you just kind of have to take the good with the bad, and he's right. The 3-star running back is pretty good, but so is the unheralded, apparently 3-star quarterback. I don't know if I remembered Maddox Madsen getting 3 stars super early in his recruiting process. His only other offer, I believe, at least according to 24/7 Sports, was New Mexico. So he was definitely a guy that flew under the radar, and he started as a redshirt freshman for Boise State. He's in line to start as a redshirt sophomore for Boise State. So getting back to those people that come up with the stars, they're not always completely accurate.
Yeah, he put me in my place a little bit there with that one. He did, but
Thank God somebody had to.
I'm
gonna thank Dirk. All I talked about with Dirk was he had rotator cuff surgery, or maybe his bicep, something like that. And it's obviously my story is I had bicep surgery this offseason because you know what I mean, this summer, because I tore my bicep. So that was that's basically what we joked around about in the, I don't know, minute or two that I had him yesterday. So good to see him back, man. I think that's the reality that's setting in for me, is they get Dirk Koetter for a whole year, and that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, our YouTube video views are already. We're happy about that. People love
yeah.
Koetter,
It's not going to. And to say it's not going to be perfect. Like he'll have his ups and downs. The offense will have his ups and downs. I mean, he's coaching college kids for that matter, right? But if there's anybody that's going to be able to, you figure put them in a good position here, it's that man right there. So, excited to see how he gets this offense going. I know, like back in the spring, he talked about play action pass and things like that, but they've got to do something to try, as I mentioned on the show last week, BJ, when we were talking about Ashton, they've got to do something to try to get some attention off of Ashton Genty and prevent teams from just loading up the box against him.
Final question on the quarterbacks. I do want to switch to defense here in a second.
Yeah.
What did you make of his? I don't think it's a surprise, but do you get a sense there might be a chip on Maddox Madsen's shoulder? Oh, I don't get a sense. There is.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Just lost Jay Tust. We'll see if Jay pops back in. I think Maddox Madsen, chip on his shoulder, no doubt. Everyone's already given the job to Maddox Madsen, giving it to Malachi Nelson, hyping up Malachi Nelson. But yeah, Maddox Madsen's like, hey, I'm still here. I've started game. I was named the starter. I took the job away from Taylon Green essentially last year. So I think there's a lot of reasons for Maddox Madsen to feel like this is his job and he deserves it. So we'll get back to Jay in just a second. Might as well thank a couple more of our sponsors real quick and get that out of the way while we're waiting for Jay. Lithia Ford of Boise, lithiafordboise.com. We're going to start tomorrow, kind of a new ad campaign with practice starting with Lithia and their NIL stuff. We got some cool videos and graphics of their NIL stuff that they're doing with Lithia Ford of Boise. So appreciate Lithia Ford of Boise. Again, lithiafordboise.com. You can view that full inventory of vehicles. They've got six Lithia Ford of Boise NIL deals, 6 Boise State athletes driving their vehicles, including 4 football players. So make sure you check them out. Lithia Ford Boise, lithiafordboise.com. Our friends at the Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorangestore.com. You need some Boise State gear for the upcoming season. Make sure you check out the Blue and Orange Store, whether it's shirts, caps, jerseys, bumper stickers. They got the new uniforms. They got the Ashton Genty Heisman shirts, all that good stuff. Yeah, I know you have some other options for your Boise State gear, but the Blue and Orange Store has been there from the beginning. So make sure you check out the Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorangestore.com. Check them out online. And again, they came in right during that first Fiesta Bowl season. And so we appreciate Travis Hawks and company. And so the blueandorangestore.com, again, some good deals there, or you can just go to the Boise Town Square Mall, the second floor next to Pro Image. It's a Taco Bell Tuesday. We appreciate the Nicolason family, SON Management, for their support of Bronco Nation News. We'll be doing a live show from Taco Bell coming up here in the near future. TacoBellWorks.com. Check them out. SON Management, the Nicolason family. Again, they are hiring. So if you're looking for a job, you can get more information there. But the food is great. And it's, you have a lot of options for meals and food, but highly recommend Taco Bell. And again, if you got young kids like I do, it's the cheesy roll-ups, some of the cheap options they have. I really recommend it. And it's just tasty, tasty food. And again, they've donated and endowed, hundreds of thousands of dollars to the student athlete scholarships at Boise State. So return the favor, support your local Taco Bell store. And again, get more information, TacoBellWorks.com. And Transportation Compliance Service, you looking to get into the trucking industry, make sure you check them out. Transportation Compliance Service, they can help you with all the paperwork and permits and things you need to get you out there towing that first load in no time. So check them out, Transportation Compliance Service, TCS. And a quick mention for Circa Sports. Circa Resort and Casino, we're going down August 22nd for contest weekend. Connor Johnstone's heading down. We got some other folks heading down. I know the Draper family's heading down. So there's still time if you want to go to Vegas with us August 22nd for contest weekend. We are going down there to sign up for their Survivor and Millionaire contest, $1,000 entry fees. But if you get some buddies together, it makes it much more affordable. And you can win $10 million if you win Survivor, $6 million for the millions. And again, if you're interested in getting some buddies together or signing up, we can sign you up. So you head down there to give me your money. We'll head down there to Vegas. Maybe double it up on the roulette wheel first. But through our proxy, Tom Carroll, we can sign you up for these contests. And again, it's 100% legal to play in Idaho or anywhere in the world that doesn't allow legal guys gambling, because this is legal. You just have to have the entry signed up in Vegas. And then through Vegas Football Proxy, we get you set up with them. And they go into Circa and make your pick for you at Circa Resort and Casino. So if you're interested in either of the contests, let us know. Again, Circa Resort and Casino, Circa Sports, and their sports contest that they got going on. All right, Jay, we were finishing up on Madsen, but we'll just switch to the defense here because I kind of finished up the Madsen take, and we don't have a ton of time. But he has obviously a big chip on his shoulder. I'll let you if you want to throw something in there on Madsen. Big chip on his shoulder, and I know that that shouldn't surprise anybody. And as I said, given the fact that by the end of the season he had surpassed, or before he got hurt, he had taken the starting job away from a guy like Talon Green. And if you're Maddox Madsen, you're saying, of course this should be my job.
Yeah. I will add this, BJ, and that's, you have to go back to the 2018 season to where Boise State's starting quarterback basically played, all of the snaps. That was when Brett Rippon was here, man. 2018. It's been a while since Boise State really relied on one QB1. And so, again, it's not the most attractive answer here, but Dirk's right. They're going to need two guys. And you also have to play the game right, too, because, Colt Fulton's been here a while, very intelligent between the ears, not a whole lot of in-game experience. And after that, it gets really young and really inexperienced in a big-time hurry. And so you're going to need Malachi and Maddox ready to go one way or the other.
Yep, no doubt about it. And again, that is, I know the storyline that everyone's talking about, but there are a lot of other, storylines and things on this team. And again, we'll have individual interviews with these coaches over the course of the next week or so. And the player interviews will start as well. But defensively, Erik Chinander, we had a chance to catch up with him. Jay, just big picture, your thoughts talking to Erik and just this defense and some of the battles and things going on there heading into camp.
I'm just buying into the depth this year, and gosh darn it, I probably did it a little bit last year, and especially up front, it didn't necessarily probably have the result that maybe we all kind of expected, at least early on in the season. I'm just buying into the depth, man. I think they have two really talented linebackers in Marco Notriani and Andrew Simpson, and behind him you have Jake Ripp and Chase Martin that are going to be very good. Not only on defense, but on special teams. And I like their situation at cornerback better this year. Their depth at safety is it's insane. I don't know how many teams in the country have as much depth at safety as Boise State does. And they're all versatile. Like they can really mix and match back there if they want to. And so it all comes down to, making sure that Jaden Virgin Morgan and those edge guys can hold down that spot and be really explosive at a spot that Boise State hasn't been as explosive as they want to over the last couple of years.
So here's my interview. Again, we only had like 4 minutes. It was a lot going on yesterday, Jay. So it's a lot of quick hitters. I'm going back and forth between positions, just trying to get some quick stuff. And there's not a lot of flow to the interview, but just some quick thoughts on as many things as possible with Erik Chinander heading into the start of fall camp tomorrow.
Camp on Wednesday. What are just your thoughts on getting out there and getting it going?
No, I'm excited to get back out there with those guys. I'm excited about the team for the season. Coach Danielson's done a great job, and Coach Hilgart through the offseason, through the summer program. So I'm excited to watch that translate into actual football on the field.
What's I know you're gonna be head's gonna be on a swivel. You got a position, a lot of going on, position to coach. But just what are the biggest position battles or areas of focus that you are going to be focused on early on?
Yeah, I think we got some good battles at every position. There's multiple safeties / nickel dimes that can all play. That's going to be a good position battle. Multiple corners, multiple interior D linemen, multiple linebacker. I think there's a position battle at every position on the field. It might not necessarily be every single person on the team, but there's definitely a position battle at every position. So it's going to be exciting to watch, and I really hope some of that competition creates some new guys that we didn't expect to be the starter this year or a contributor.
How important do you need someone other than Ahmed Hassanin to step up in terms of a pass rush?
I think it's huge. I mean, even to create a situation where they can't always slide to protection or double Ahmed, but we have really good rushers. I think that we have some good interior rushers with Braxton Feely and Herbert Gums and Sheldon Newton, and then Jaden Virgin came on along at the end last year, and some new guys at that edge position, along with adding in some rush from the second or third levels. Andrew Simpson's a really good pass rusher when he gets the opportunity to do that. And then some of these young guys, I think, can contribute from the edge.
You went out and got a couple transfers at DB with Banks, and we saw what Irby did in the spring. I mean, but McCoy had a heck of a year. You got a guy like Markel Reed that's done some things when he's been healthy. I mean, how do you look at the battle there at corner and the depth you have?
Yeah, I think it's you can't go through the season with two corners, number one. You need 3 or 4, especially in this league and the non-conference we play. But that's one of the position battles we're talking about. Where do those pieces fit? And if 3 of those guys are 3 of the best 11, then we got to figure out a way to get those 3 on the field. It can't just be pigeonholed as a corner. So someone in that group may have to play a different position within the secondary, or we may have to create a new package for that person to get on the field.
What was it, a guy like Banks that made you want to bring him? He was available late, obviously, and for him to come in where maybe there were 2 guys that looked like they were going to be starters, for him to want to come in and not be promised anything, but see that he needs to work for his spot.
Yeah, well, first off, he did it the right way. He made the decision. He wanted to transfer. He knew what the stakes were coming in, but he does have multiple years left, so that's a very positive thing for us and for him. Second thing, we knew a lot about him. He's really close with Sheldon Newton, same high school. We know their high school coach very, very well. We have a great relationship with him, so we knew kind of what we were getting before bringing someone like that, high priority, high value target into the system. But he's going to help us a ton, and whether he's the starter or he's a contributor or wherever he fits, he's going to help a ton.
Okay, so you got the corners, but then the safeties, are a lot of guys in nickel, a lot of guys that are returning, a lot of guys that played a lot of football. I mean, how do you, again, you got 4, 5, 6 guys that probably think they should be playing. How does that shake out at safety / nickel?
Yeah, once again, you're going to have injuries. You're going to have to rotate, especially last year at the end of the year, we played a lot more dime. Ty Benefield was proven to be one of the better players on the defense that needed to be on the field, so we went to a lot more dime. Do we have to create another package? Are we able to rotate some of those guys through to keep guys fresh? That's what we got to figure out as we go through fall camp.
As the guy that's been the D coordinator, called the plays, I mean, you could be back in that role this year. Just personally, what's the excitement level for you?
Very exciting. It's much different than just being a position coach, and I don't say just being, but having only that responsibility last year. Now you're really dealing with 55 or 60 players instead of just the 8 or 10 in an intimate setting. So that's the exciting thing for me, is to getting to work with all the different position groups, all the different position coaches. I just think that's an exciting part, having a better relationship with everybody on the defense.
How good can this defense be?
I think the sky's the limit. It's going to come down to us putting them in the best positions possible, giving them the chance to be successful, and then what they're willing to do from now until we play that first game to get themselves ready for that opportunity.
I guess final thing, the hype around this team is at an all-time high here in town. I mean, there's a lot on the line. Obviously now you have a chance with the playoff and just everything going on around your team. What's the excitement level, the motivation level, and just how eager is this team as a whole to get out there and try to prove it on the field?
Yeah, I think the excitement level's high within these walls. and they understand that they have a great opportunity, but it's only an opportunity right now. We have a lot of guys returning. We have a lot of guys win preseason awards and those kind of things, but that doesn't matter. Now it's time to play football. And I think this is a mature enough team to understand that whatever happened last year, whatever happened preseason, doesn't matter. We have to go do it August.
Eric, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Erik Chinander, kind of interesting. They're talking about the corners. Hey, we're going to, if we need to find a way to get 3 or 4 on the field somehow, we will do that. And obviously, with different packages and things, and if it, dime or whether there's 5, wide receiver sets on the other side, there's different ways to do it. But he said, we're going to get creative and get our best players on the field. You're muted, Jay.
I think that they have kind of figured it out in terms of where they feel like guys can thrive. And take a guy like Cottonelli Canijo, for example, where he's played some cornerback, most of his career. And it seems like now he's going to play mostly in, those dime packages. And outside of that, maybe some nickel and things like that right now. So I think that they have, really tried to do a good job of mixing and matching and seeing where they need to move guys and slide guys and where they can have success. But again, you look at that safety position, they're just loaded back there. And whether it be, Ty Benefield at free safety getting the start, or, Alexander Tubner at strong safety. And then you have Rodney Robinson with an unbelievable amount of experience, and Shale Adipo, and I mentioned Cottonelli Canijo, and then you have Zion Washington. I mean, like, how on earth are they going to get all these guys that deserve playing time on the field? I mean, any of those guys, BJ, you would feel with rolling out there as your starters at their respective positions, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Jay, tomorrow about 9:50-ish, when the hype circle breaks, first of all, who's your first guess to be who's in the hype circle on practice one? Is it Ashton? Does it have to be Ashton day one?
Probably. I'll go. I mean, I think he would be the odds-on favorite. Day one, Ashton Genty.
Okay, so if it's Ashton Genty, he says his thing, they do their jumping jacks, they break the huddle, they all spread across the first official period of the first official practice of fall camp. Where is Jay Tust picking up his camera and hurrying down to get the first set of video? What are you looking at? What are you looking at first?
It's the quarterbacks. That's. I'm going to go beyond that because that's just like that's the too obvious answer. I got to see how much are we going to see of Cam Camper? He's supposed to be limited early on. One guy that, Spencer didn't say yesterday when we were talking about injuries that kind of was injured at times during spring ball was Chris Marshall. I want to see Chris Marshall. How good does he look? Is he ready to roll? Is he ready to take over a big time, part of this offense? Can Austin Bolt, prevent a guy like Cam Camper or Chris Marshall getting on a football field? Who wins that edge at X with Prince Strawn, in maybe like a Chris Marshall. I think overall what I would really want to see out of that wide receiver group this year, they got to go back, and that group needs to start, making the plays that you would assume they wouldn't at times. I guess what I mean by that is Khalil Shakir was so good at going up and making a spectacular catch. How can they help these quarterbacks do that by doing that, right? Like, they didn't have a whole ton of really tough contested catches last year, especially if you take Eric McAllister out of the equation. That was, probably the best guy on the team at going up and getting one, right? And so they need some guys that can emerge and make those tight contested catches. And then on top of that, do something after the catch. I think that's an area they really missed Latrell Caples last year. Latrell, as a sophomore, proved that he could have a little shake and bake once he got the rock in his hand. And that was just an area they weren't that great last year. And so those are two areas where I think this wide receiver group has the talent to improve, but needs to improve as well.
I would be going to the wide receiver group pretty early on in practice too. I agree with you. I think that's a very intriguing, exciting position. But that is the great thing about this team is there are, let's go look at right tackle. Let's go look at the edge position. Let's go look at, I think, the corners. Let's go see what Banks looks like and see all these guys, with Irby and stuff. So I think you could find different positions to go to, and it's going to be, that's why I think it's going to be an exciting fall camp to kind of see what happens.
Everybody wants to talk about who's going to back up Ahmed, and I think you feel pretty good about Tavion Woodard because he's going into his 6th year of college ball. He's played a ton at Ball State. It actually seems like they have an okay. It's hey, I'm not saying anybody's Ahmed because he's 101 on this defense, but it seems like they do have a rotation that they would be comfortable with if they have to. My big concern, I would say, is probably what's backing up Jaden Virgin Morgan, and even that, you look at Jaden, you're like, this guy's going to be a great football player. Like, there's no doubt in my mind he's going to produce this fall. But despite all of his playing time last year, it's not like he had insane production attached to his stats, So he's got to go out and prove it. And then behind him, you have some question marks. Gabe Hunter's been here for a very, very long time. Great attitude, great character. Want to see it all come together for him, especially after he played, at the end of the year 2 years ago. Hardly played, had some injuries and stuff last year. But he's kind of your backup right now, probably at that edge position behind Jaden Virgin Morgan. And then behind him, we're talking about a true freshman in Roman Kaywood, right? And so they've got to find some answers and find some confidence, I would say, at that edge position, because it is a very, very important position on this defense if this defense wants to be elite.
Well, again, we'll hear from some of these position coaches. We will play Matt Miller tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Johnny and I will be probably in the parking lot or somewhere over by Boise State tomorrow because we'll do the show at 9 and then practice at 9:45. So we'll play Matt Miller. We'll get you a defensive coach as well. Maybe we'll talk corners. Demario Warren and Matt Miller seem like two good ones to play on tomorrow's show, and we'll do that. Jay, final question for you as we're up against the clock here, but I mean the most important question heading into this afternoon and tomorrow. Are the Mariners done?
I don't think so, man. And the only reason why I say that is because like the guys that I follow on X that know this team, that really know this team, believe they're not done. And so Ryan Divish does an awesome job, and Jason Churchill's
Randy Arozarena, and
he hit a bomb last night. I know, Justin Turner. It was such a Mariners pickup, man. We hear, Vladdy Jr., and then it's like, you're getting a corner infielder from the Blue Jays, and it's Justin Turner, who's 39. My one hope there is Justin, kind of that clubhouse guy, and I think the Mariners are pretty young right now, and they need a guy like Justin Turner. So he's only hitting like 254 with 6 jacks, but I think he could provide a little more value to this team that needs that veteran presence if they're going to make a deep run.
Yeah, trade deadline this afternoon for all you baseball fans, so enjoy it. Catch your breath, folks. Final day, and then tomorrow it'll be, we'll hit them hard and hit them every day pretty much. Bronco Nation News, KTVB, our friends over at KTIK. I mean, I think it's going to be 3 great spots to find all of your Boise State coverage here moving forward. So make sure you're listening today. Idaho Sports Talk 3 to 6. Watch all Jay and all the various sportscasts, him and Brady. I'm sure you'll have plenty of sound previewing fall camp on the newscasts tonight. And then obviously tomorrow, 9 a.m., you'll hear from Matt Miller, you'll hear from Demario Warren, and we'll kick off officially day 1 of fall camp. So, Jay, appreciate your time as always, man, and we'll do it again on Friday.
Sounds good, brother.
There he is, Jay Tust. Appreciate you guys for checking us out. Check out again Taco Bell, TacoBellWorks.com. It's been a Taco Bell Tuesday. RowPaint.com, our title sponsor. We appreciate them. And, of course, Cutwater Spirits, sponsor of our studios here at BNN. Have a great Tuesday. We will talk to you tomorrow from Boise State. Fall camp has arrived. Day 1 coverage tomorrow at 9 a.m. here on Bronco Nation News and Bronco Nation News.